Thank you. This is the vote tally card. We're going to frame this one, okay? 218, 214. Listen, I'm not going to give you a long speech. A lot has been said today, and these people are exhausted. A couple of us quite literally haven't slept in 2 days, so I'm a danger to myself and others right now. I'm not going to speak off the cuff. I'll just say this. I mean, many of you have asked me this question in the hall over the last couple of days, but when it looked like that we might actually deliver this thing, particularly this morning, how did you know? I mean, what kept you going? Why did you think this was possible? You guys made an audacious plan. You brought the most comprehensive, complicated piece of legislation, probably, arguably in the top 2 or 3 in the history of the Congress, with the smallest margin in U.S. history, which we had for a big chunk of the first 100 days. And you put this audacious timeline. You said you were going to pass it out of the House by Memorial Day. I mean, some of you openly laughed at me when I said that back in early February. And then we said we would get it done by July 4th. We beat Memorial Day by 4 days, and we got this one done a day early. I just want to point out, okay? So the question was, I mean, well, like, why? Why did you do that? Why did you think that was possible? Because I would sum it up with one word. It's belief. Okay, we had a vision for what we wanted to do as a group. We believed in the election cycle last fall that we were going to be given this great blessing of unified government, that we would have the White House and the Senate and the House aligned, in alignment, unified government. And we did not want to waste that opportunity because we understand the history that comes along with it, the opportunity that we can do for the country, and we believe that we would have that chance. And then I believe in the people that are standing here behind me. I believe in this group, every single one of them individually. Some of them are more fun to deal with than others, you know. I mean that with the greatest level of respect. I love every single one of my colleagues. You know, even the ones I got to spend the more time with, right? Because everybody's here, their motive is right, their heart is right. They're trying to do right for their constituents. They're trying to serve the greatest nation in the history of the world that we're going to celebrate tomorrow. We don't take that lightly. I know their hearts, and I know what their skill sets are, and I know what they bring to the table, and I get up every day excited because I know that each of them are going to bring that to the table, and they're going to serve their constituents. You could not have a greater group of public servants than the people standing in this room right here. They will give their all for this country, and man, that's what the framers intended when they put this thing together 249 years ago. This is what it was about. So I believed in this vision. I believed in the group. I believe in America. I believe we have the greatest nation. I'm going to say this very simply, and everybody here would articulate it in their own way. We had a tough 4 years before this last election cycle. America we were in deep trouble. And we knew that if we won, and we believed we would, we knew that if we got unified government, we'd have to quite literally fix every area of public policy. Everything was an absolute disaster under the Biden-Harris radical, woke, progressive Democrat regime. And we took the best effort that we could in one big, beautiful bill to fix as much of it as we could. And I am so grateful to God that we got that done as we did. Because of the dedication, yeah. Lastly, it's no secret, I do believe in God. I believe in that motto that's up that I referenced in the floor speech a little while ago. I believe that is what has made our nation the greatest in the history of the world. And some people shake their heads and they think that's old-fashioned or something. That is a fact. When the framers put this together, they stepped out in faith. They did something that no nation had ever done before. The great statesman, philosopher G.K. Chesterton of Great Britain said, America is the only nation in the world that was founded upon a creed. And he said it's listed with almost theological lucidity or clarity in the nation's birth certificate, the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that we recognize, we boldly proclaim the self-evident truth that our rights do not come from the government, they come from God himself. He's the one that gave us our rights. That's right. Abraham Lincoln said in the Gettysburg Address, we are dedicated to this proposition, to one nation, under God. A government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth. This is an experiment. It's only 249 years, y'all. That's not a long span of time in human history. It's just a blip on the whole scale of human history. It is up to us to save it. It's up to the duly elected representatives of the people to come here and represent, and it's up to every single one of us, of the people, by the people, for the people, all of us. So you got to be engaged, and we got to pass this along to the next generation. Reagan reminded us, freedom's not inherited in the bloodstream. It's got to be protected. It's got to be fought for. It's got to be taught to the next generation so that they will have the same liberty, opportunity, and security that we have all known and too often take it for granted. So I just want to say, we're going to get to the main event here. We're about to sign this bill and get it over to the White House, okay? Some of these men and women have got to go catch flights and stuff. So we're going to sign this real quick, and I'll take a few questions. But I just want to say this: do not take for granted what we have been given. This grand experiment in self-governance. We can preserve it, but we got to do it all together. God bless you. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to House Speaker Mike Johnson address lawmakers after the House of Representatives passed President Trump's massive budget bill along party lines. And what we saw there was a very big smile on the House Speaker's face, obviously working overtime to make this happen and bring this to fruition. He said he plans to frame the vote tally card, 218 to 214. He says his caucus is exhausted, in quotes. They haven't slept in 2 days, and called this new plan an audacious plan with what he calls the smallest margin in history. He cited the Gettysburg Address. He cited the Declaration of Independence, saying that this is an experiment of 249 years. And Johnson now taking the seat at the desk, signing this piece of legislation. He says he will then, the tally sheet, excuse me, and then he will take this piece of legislation to the White House. That will be delivered to the White House, where the president, according to our CBS News reporting, plans to sign it. And he's there shaking hands, a very celebratory atmosphere there on Capitol Hill. You can see there so many people surrounding the speaker. And I want to bring in CBS News political reporter Zak Hudak on Capitol Hill. You've been there for every step of the way. Break down this vote. How did it get through?
I think the key factor in this vote getting through happened overnight, and it was Donald Trump calling the holdout members and promising them that this will not be the final bill, that it will eventually be amended and improved as time goes on, and that he will listen to them for their pet projects and use his power as president, his voice, that megaphone that he has as the most famous person in the world, to help advance their agendas. So I think the big turning point is in the wee hours of the morning, Donald Trump stepping in and helping to whip votes.
You know, we're just hearing now from the White House, the press secretary now saying that the bill will be at the president's desk for signature tomorrow at 5 o'clock on the 4th of July. The press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, saying that the bill restores fiscal sanity in our country. As we navigate these next steps and wait for the president to sign this landmark legislation, I'm curious to know what happens to the two Republican holdouts, Representatives Fitzpatrick and Massey, who declined to support this bill. What happens with their political futures, and what do they say to their constituents?
Well, we have already seen the president targeting Representative Massey over the past few days, very publicly on Truth Social, and I think it's safe to assume that the president will be supporting a primary challenger for Tom Massey and trying anything he can do to enact revenge on him for not helping get this bill through. For Brian Fitzpatrick, it's very interesting because these are two very different voters. Tom Massey is a more libertarian member of the House GOP. Brian Fitzpatrick is one of the longtime chairs of the Problem Solvers Committee. He's one of the most moderate members in Congress and really has worked to bridge the gap across the aisle over the years. While Tom Massey opposes the bill because he doesn't want to increase the deficit, Brian Fitzpatrick is honed in on the cuts to Medicaid and the hospital cuts and other things that would affect his constituents in Pennsylvania outside Philadelphia. So two very different members, but I think they're both now probably going to face a lot of pressure from Donald Trump in the form of him telling his base not to support these folks, to support people who run against them in primary races. I think that's probably a little bit more precarious of a situation for Massey to be in, being from a much more red district, whereas Fitzpatrick is a more moderate member from a more moderate district. So fewer of his voters theoretically are part of Trump's main base. But there's no question, if history is any indication, that President Trump will be looking for blood and would love to show other members that what happens when you cross him is you lose your seat in the House.
Zach, we're looking at these pictures of a jubilant, celebratory atmosphere there among House Republicans. They've just passed this mega bill from the president with so much work that went into getting this over the finish line. But we have to remember the contrast, the other side of this, of course, Democrats certainly hurting from what's happened today. And are you hearing anything from Democrats who oppose the bill? We saw uniform opposition from the Democratic Party on this. What are you hearing from representatives on that side?
Well, they are certainly concerned about how this is going to affect their constituents. Most of all, worried about their poor constituents who could very well lose benefits as a result of this legislation. But the silver lining for them is that they have a new rallying cry. They have a new thing to point to, particularly in those battleground districts. They can say, look, the Republicans took away health care from Americans who needed it. The Republicans increased the deficit and cut taxes on the richest Americans. So in a lot of ways, the Democrats are getting a new message, and they've really struggled to come to a consensus on what their message is following their major defeats this past fall. So while I think Democrats are sad about this and concerned about what it means for Americans, I think in some ways this helps their party as a whole because it gives them something to latch onto and to focus on as they hit back at Republicans who frankly have had a lot more wins lately.
Zach, I wonder, we've seen some polling data that shows that this bill is deeply unpopular. And of course, we also saw Representative Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, saying the quote was disgusting abomination in his words, that this legislation would hurt Americans. Is there a sense, aside from this becoming a rallying cry, that it will spur other types of reactions, legal measures taken, or other types of paths that have also been taken on the other side on other issues?
I do think that this opens up opportunities for Democrats to bring other things up and to focus on things such as the ICE raids that have been taking place. This bill gives more money to immigration efforts, and Democrats will be saying this is directly funding those aids, which we've seen repeatedly have been extremely unpopular nationwide, but particularly in battleground districts that Republicans really need to hold on to in the House. But I think also this is something that allows Democrats to recalibrate. I think it's been very unclear over the past few months, other than outrage at Donald Trump, what their message is. This makes it a little more concrete for Americans. Now, the Republicans do have the benefit of a number of the provisions in this bill will not go into effect until after the midterm elections. That is certainly something that was done by design, but at least gives the Democrats something to point to and say, hey, everyday Americans, you're going to be experiencing these changes. If you are on Medicaid, you're going to see your benefits change. And I think that really strengthens their position. While for Republicans, Donald Trump gets to say he met the deadline. Mike Johnson met the deadline. And on 4th of July, tomorrow, I'm sure we'll be hearing the president really bragging about what was an enormous legislative victory, maybe his biggest legislative victory ever, and something that we saw over the past 24 hours was really not easy to get past, particularly with the razor slim margins that we have in the House of Representatives.
Zak Hudak, keeping us company for over an hour and 13 minutes. We appreciate your analysis and real-time look at what's going on in Capitol Hill on this huge day. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.